shower with some clothes on again this time. Just mix it up a bit. Sometimes wear clothes, sometimes don't wear clothes. Either way, just don't really give a shit. Just remember, don't give a shit what anyone thinks. And what I was going to do now, I was going to try and just tell you my story, which I haven't really told anyone, to be honest, my story. Actually, no, I told one person my story, and soon after I told her, she killed herself. And I don't think it was because of my story, because it's not really a bad story. It's quite a big story, a lot going on, but it's not really a bad story. So I think it was other stuff that made her kill herself. Anyway, my story. So basically, well, I'm in loads of pain, like physically. I'm in a huge amount of pain all the time, and I have been since I was a child, really. Since I was about 12, I think, is when it began. And but I could never really put words to it. And I always knew that I had pain in my genitals, just on one side. That was what I was like, yeah, I know this. This is something I know, is that my labia really hurts all the time. And I didn't really find sex any fun because I couldn't have an orgasm, and everything just kind of felt really painful and kind of really sad too. So I never really was that fussed about sex. And but eventually I was like, oh, actually, I think I would really like to enjoy sex. I'd like to sort this out, because this is, I mean, sex is quite important, isn't it? It's quite an important part of a human life. And so I went on this little mission to sort it out, and I spent loads of money. I spent thousands of dollars, and I had my genitals chopped up by an old man, with my permission, but I regretted it quite quickly afterwards, because it didn't help at all, surprisingly. I was prescribed loads of creams, loads of things. I was diagnosed with about, I don't know, a million different problems. And then what I did was I was just like, oh, you know what, I think you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about. I'm going to try and figure it out myself. And I picked up a pair of insoles, and I just did this examination of my body just to see. I went from here and I just went out just to see where the pain stopped. And I went all over my body, and I was like, oh, actually, the pain doesn't really stop. It feels uncomfortable throughout my whole being. And I was prescribed an exercise with a mirror by my wizard, a physiotherapist. And she knew of this exercise. It was like a therapeutic neuroscience exercise that she gave to me. And what it did was, it just completely exploded me into a different dimension. And it collapsed my body over a few days. And for a few days I was just laughing and shouting and crying and singing and shaking, just like, maybe not with the noise so much, but my whole body was just vibrating. And I came out of it feeling really good. I felt really light, and I was like, oh, wow, this is much nicer actually than it was before. And it didn't last for that long. It only lasted a few weeks, and I felt really weird too. I kind of felt like like Bambi, but like a computer version of Bambi. I just didn't feel quite right at all. Really weak and floppy and strange. And they diagnosed me with psychosis, and they said that I'd developed mania. And they had like social workers come round to my house, and they put me under the care of the state. They called my next of kin, who was my ex-girlfriend. She called my mum. My mum nearly came over from Australia. It was all pretty ridiculous, really, because I actually felt really good. It felt really healing for me to go through that. And so when that was over, I was like, I think I'm just going to get out of Australia, because I think maybe there's something a little bit wrong with the Western medical view of the world and of bodies. And so I went to Nepal to learn to meditate and do lots of yoga. And when I was there, essentially I became self-aware in this really new way. Like, I already knew that I existed. I was already like, oh yeah, I exist. And then after the whole explosion thing, I was like, oh, I'm really aware of the fact that I exist. And then I got to Nepal, and I was having these terrible migraines, and it felt like my head was just going to explode across the universe. And I sat down and I said, okay, mind, show me what I need to see for this to change. Because I just felt like I wanted to die, basically. I wanted to just kind of rip myself in half. I just felt really bad. And so I was expecting to see, I was expecting a memory to come back to me. I was expecting to remember something that I'd pushed aside. I was like, nah, won't remember that for now, thanks. And I guess in a way I did, really, but I thought it was going to be a memory of trauma, and it wasn't. It was more just like being reminded of what I am. And so I was sitting there, and I asked my mind to show me whatever I needed to see. And it showed me my facial expression. And it showed it to me by making me feel. I suddenly could feel kind of every layer of me. And I could feel that my face, and my whole body really, but very much kind of amplified inside my face and inside my head. The whole left side of me is kind of like this. But in this really subtle way, where you don't really see it so much, but you can see a little lump. I've got a lump on my nose here, which I've always hated. I've got a lump here too. And what it is that my whole head and all of my senses, my ears, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, my throat, everything, kind of my mind, but also my body, is twisted. Just like, but especially on this side, it's like, this side is just, it's just like, well, it's just I'm just twisted. I'm just totally twisted to my core, like twisted all the way through my body, so that my whole body hurts. And it hurts in a different way on one side to the other. You see how this hand is kind of, it wants to sit like this. It's a bit spastic is what I am. I'm not the only one. But yeah, and like this all just kind of came up as soon as I could feel myself. And I could feel that I was like flinched in this really twisted way. And the moment I could feel it was the moment I could kind of let go. Because what had been going on was that my subconscious mind had been in this deep state of contraction since I was a child, since I was traumatized as a kid. And it could finally let go. And all of a sudden, my face just kind of exploded out of me. And it was kind of like there was a volcano erupting out of my left eye socket, and everything was just pouring out, and my whole head and my whole body just started to shapeshift. And that was 2 years ago now, pretty much, and it hasn't stopped. And I've just got like this pounding pain and this acute awareness of the fact that I'm deeply contracted and really, really, really tense, and I'm now letting go. And when I started to let go and my head started to shapeshift, I began to just see things a little differently. I was like, oh, I think I might understand a fair bit of what's going on, actually, because I don't think it's just me who was traumatized as a kid, and I don't think it's just me who's been kind of living in this deep state of subconscious contraction. And I was in a lot of pain. I still am, really, but I was in a real, like, huge amount of pain then, because my body was just so sensitive. I was doing yoga all the time, and everything was just happening so quickly. And I'd go to the doctors and I'd be like, oh, my whole head is moving all the time, and I've got all these like electric shocks and muscle spasms and just this fucking crazy feeling all through my body, and I just kind of want to rip my face in half, and because it's so uncomfortable. And everyone I turned to they just said, oh, I think you've got a mental health problem. And that was the last thing I needed to hear, because I was acutely aware of the fact that I was alive. And when you have that really, really sudden kind of awareness of the value and of the strangeness of your existence, and also you have this awareness of just this collective state of subconscious contraction that we all seem to be living in, and you've also got people telling you you're crazy. It's kind of like you know everything there is to know, basically. You do. You're just like, oh, I see that we're all living in a state of terror, and that everything we do is falsified because it's because we just need to surrender, and we haven't surrendered yet. And so when you've got this really acute awareness of what's going on across the whole world, matched with the fact that everyone's telling you that you're crazy, you kind of get a bit it's easy to get a bit confused as to whether you're kind of entering a state of enlightenment and you're waking up in this profound way to your existence as a spiritual being inside a physical body, or whether you're whether you're totally insane. It can be hard to tell the difference. And so I was pretty confident that I wasn't insane and that this thing was definitely happening to me and that perhaps I was here to convey something to the world. But eventually, after just everyone, like my friends, my family, all the doctors, even the yogis, everyone was just like, I think you've got a problem. I think you've got a delusional problem. I think this thing that you think's happening, it's not actually happening. You're not in pain. Your face isn't moving. Your body's not shape-shifting. You've just got a mental health problem. And so eventually, when people just say that to you enough, and you're really confident that you are definitely in a lot of pain and you have been your whole life, you just never really had the words to put to it. And then, after what was it, maybe 6 or 7 months of that, I got to this point where I was like, I just have to make a decision. Either I'm totally insane and all of this reality is unreal, or I'm Jesus and I need to just tell the truth to the whole world. And it wasn't the first time I'd had the thought that maybe I was Jesus. I've had it like just these like fleeting, passing thoughts, I guess. A lot of my life I've had this thing, maybe you're Jesus. And I'd just go and I'd just be like, oh, I don't think so. I'll just ignore that little idea. But it got to the point where, you know, everything was happening so much inside me and I could just see everything with such stark clarity that I was like, I think I might actually be Jesus and I think I might be here to trigger the apocalypse. And then, so I started, and I was like, well, I can do it through a story. Like, I just tell people my story and do it in a nice way, like poetic, with as much rhyme as possible, because rhyme's good for the mind. And make it funny, make it heartfelt, and make people feel, because that's what's missing, is that nobody can feel anything so much these days. And so I started writing, and I was staying at my auntie's house at this point, and she just died, and she was quite an incredible person. She was an artist, and she kind of, in my mind, she kind of had this kind of godly place, and all of a sudden everything just started collapsing in on itself. Like, my whole reality just started, not started, it had been going for a while, but it just crumbled, just to tiny little pieces of, I don't know, like, well, matter, I suppose, or just reality, just bits of reality everywhere, just in tiny pieces, and there was just nothing for me to hold on to anymore. And there was another choice, and it was a choice between faith or doubt. And I was holding on to faith. I was like, yeah, I believe that things matter. I think there's other people, and there's something real about this. And I think love might be the only thing that's real. And so I was writing, and it was pretty dark what I was writing, but I was getting a bit of a kick from it, and it was funny. I was enjoying it. I was writing. I was like, I'm going to trigger the apocalypse. This is such a good idea. And then by the next day, I was like, no, there's no way that I can be Jesus. This must be a trick, and I need to kill myself. So first of all, and I tried for a few days to hold on, just like kept writing, but I just was like, nothing's real, because no one was being real with me. Everyone was being really, well, for a start, everyone was just completely ignoring me and telling me that I was totally wrong, and they were being really cold. Everyone seemed super cold, and just not very genuine, I suppose, and a bit scared. Everyone seemed quite scared, and it made me a bit scared, actually, because everyone was just so freaked out, but unwilling to admit that they were really in this state of terror, that I suddenly found myself in a place of complete terror too. And so I tried to blow myself up with my brain, and that didn't work. So then I took all the pills I could find and washed them down with, I think, a couple of bottles of wine. That didn't kill me, but it did make me feel really bad for days. And then I got over that, and I walked up to the markets and I bought myself a Stanley knife. Bought myself a Stanley knife, and I ran myself a bath. And I slashed my wrists, both of them, really deep. I nearly chopped this arm off, pretty much. And at one point, I actually thought I needed to chop my arm off. I had all these things just come into my head, all these things from pop culture, and that movie, 127 Hours, came into my head, and I was like, oh my god, do I need to chop my arm off? So I got a saw, and I started hacking away at my arm. But I was like, nah, I don't think that's what I need to do, because that feels definitely wrong. And then I tried to drown myself with my willpower. I just lay down in the bath, and I was like, just don't breathe. Don't take another breath, because you can't be in this reality, because it's fake. It's built on a lie. And I came pretty close to being dead, actually, quite a few times that evening, I think. But I somehow was all right the next day, and I woke up in the bed. I'd crawled back to the bed. It was really bad, really painful, really kind of a dark, one of those dark nights of the soul, I guess is what it was. And I went to hospital, spent a bit of time there, and then I was back in my parents' house in England, staying there for a few months, and I felt really bad, and I just couldn't quite believe in anything, because everything was just so obviously it was just obvious that the whole thing, the whole reality, other than this, like, this is real, obviously, but the social stuff, the society thing, and the social contract, and the way that we have jobs and all that, it's all just a complete lie. And I just was struggling quite a lot with reality, and I was struggling quite a lot with the nature of time too, because I'd come to appreciate the fact that the only thing that's real is the moment, and that we're not in the moment, and so we're not in time, and because we're not in time, we're out of time, aren't we? We've run out of time, because we've not been in the moment for so long that we've just stretched it as far as it can possibly go. And so everything was really hard, and for quite a long time I just wished I was dead. And then eventually, and I had all these social workers and psychologists and psychiatrists just telling me I needed to be on drugs. So I took the drugs, and I was like, all right, I'll just try them and see what happens. I was like, I knew what would happen. They just slowed down my healing. So my body's in a process of healing in this really, really weird, like, kind of catastrophically strange way. And the status quo that we exist in actually prevents us from healing. And and it's because the status quo is basically a reality built by, well, the ego or the devil or whatever you want to call it, or just the denial of what we are. And so I took the drugs and was fucked around with some people who just wanted to come to my house and patronise me and project. They were doing a fair bit of projection. And then I thought, I know, I'll just ride my bike. Because that's what I do sometimes when everything feels a bit much. I'm just like, I'll just ride my bike. So I came back to Australia and I got my bike, and my plan was to ride up to the tropics, where there was a boat that I could stay on for free, and I was hoping that I'd just stay on it, and then maybe a storm would come and I'd just get drowned and it would all be over. But I didn't make it to the tropics. I made it to Tamworth, about 1,200 k's from Melbourne. And then I got locked in a psych ward because somebody overheard me on the phone saying how much I just wanted to be dead. And I didn't really want to be dead. I just didn't want to be here in this world because it's inverted. And so then I was in Tamworth, and this person I'd met, who she was kind of in love with me. Oh no, she wasn't really in love with me. She was more just infatuated with me. She wanted to save me. And I was quite up for being saved at that point, because I just cycled myself into the middle of New South Wales, and I felt like total shit, and I'd been ignored for, well, about a year and a half actually at that point. And she just wanted to look after me. And I said to her, I was like, I think you want something from me that I can't give you. And she was like, I don't, I just want to help you. And I knew she was lying, but I was like, okay, sure, yeah, please help me. And so she came and got me. And she drove me up to northern New South Wales, which is where I live now at the moment. Probably not forever. Bit of a funny vibe around here. And I was staying with her and her boyfriend, and it was this really weird, really weird love triangle situation, because Their relationship became open. He was really happy because it meant he could go off and get laid, and he hadn't been laid for ages because his girlfriend of 10 years was actually way more into women than men. But they were both just so scared of being on their own that they just stayed together, even though they were both completely miserable in their relationship. I think quite a lot of people do that. And I was there, and she just wanted to have sex all the time, and I was just like, you know what? I just wanted a place to be, and I just wanted a person to be nice to me. But she just wanted quite a lot from me, and so I left. And pretty much as soon as I left, she killed herself, and I was just like, oh God, when is this going to be over? This is really fucking heavy. And then what happened, I guess, was that I wasn't feeling great at this point, but I was kind of feeling quite detached from everything. I was like, okay, this is a bit of a piss take really now, isn't it? And I moved into a house with these people. And it's a funny thing about when you realise your power, you also find yourself kind of being subjected to others' fear. And so I found myself in these situations with people where people were just kind of being dicks to me sometimes. Like really just being kind of power tripping dicks. And no, they were nice, but they were also just being dicks. And I just was like, oh my God, I just want to fucking... I mean, if I'm not allowed to die, I just want to be nowhere near anybody. Because everyone's just being really fucking annoying to me. And just so much projection. Oh. So I moved into this little shack in the trees, which is quite lovely, isn't it? It's really beautiful. And I finished writing my book. And I recorded it. And I've totally finished it. And so there's no reason now, I suppose, not to just get it out there. And it's called The Midnight Manifesto. It's about the end of time. And it's also about the end of patriarchy. And the end of greed. And the end of lies. And it's about reality. And it's about mental health. It's about lots of things. It's about feminism. Mostly it's about feminism. It's about what feminism is and what it really isn't. Because we've gotten a bit confused about a few things, I think, and it's just an attempt to just clarify. Just kind of clarify what's going on for people, because it seems like we've got to a point in this world where maybe we're ready. Do you think? Maybe we're ready to hear the truth? If we're not ready now, if we're not ready now, we're just not ever going to be ready, are we? Because it's, we're obviously at a point where things have got to change. And I don't think, I know, the way they change isn't through any of the things that we've tried. Because the things that we've tried, they're flawed. Because they're built on a lie. And nothing's going to get better in this world until we face the truth. And I, because I'm quite nice, and I'm quite brave, and I'm quite interested in the truth, I went and found out what it was. And it's funny the way our brains, our minds, and our bodies work, but basically, because I'm in loads of pain, and because I chose to heal, and because of the very particular way in which I am laced with pain, it gave me this rather extraordinary gift. And it's the gift of articulation. And so I could see the truth, and also I was like, well, I can put words to it too. So I've put 112,000 words to it, and the book it's 12 hours of audio. I've also written some poetry, and I've drawn some pictures, just of mostly what's going on in my face. I haven't drawn for ages, so they're not great, but you know, you should get the picture. Yeah, and I'm just hoping that with these things, that'll be enough to, with the book especially, because I've really put quite a lot of work into it, I'm hoping to bring about a neurological reboot across the whole world and set us all free and just kind of wipe the slate clean so we can all start again. And I realised too, I was the whole thing is kind of triggered by love, and it's this there was this girl a few years ago. Well, I met her, I don't know, quite a few years ago, but she was what triggered this whole mad journey. She kind of popped up into my life after being a bit quiet for a while. She popped up at the same time that my wizard gave me a mirror trick, and these two things just happened at the same time. And this girl was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm in love with you," and the wizard was like, "Oh, just try using a mirror." And the two things happened, and that was what exploded my body, and it set me off on this journey. And she was this girl who I really, really liked. She was a bit of a dick too, actually, and she was really good at avoiding looking at herself. But I really, really liked her, and I was massively sexually attracted to her, and I just couldn't. I was just like, oh my God, I just really, really want to just have sex with you. Oh my God, you're just so fucking sexy. But she couldn't even speak to me, which was a problem. And she certainly couldn't see me. Certainly didn't want to, like, have sex with me. But she was in love with me, and it was tricky, because I knew she really liked me, but she also really didn't like herself, and so she couldn't quite deal with the possibility that she might be gay. She just found that too weird. And she was just, I guess, like we all are, just filled with self-hatred. And so I was like, well, fuck it. If you're not going to take a look at yourself, I'm going to take a look at myself, and I'm going to be really fucking brave, and I'm going to figure loads of shit out, and maybe I can just, like, pull you into this different world where we can just be free to express our love for each other and not be filled with shame and self-hatred. And so, yeah, the whole thing is triggered by just how much I fancied this person. And this girl, she's a Leo. And I don't know much about the whole star sign thing, but I've always had this feeling like it does matter. Like, these things have got meaning to them, for sure. And I'm an Aries. She's like known as, like, leaders, really, aren't they? Anyway, she's a Leo, and what I've heard is that Leos really like, they like a bit of fuss being made over them. They like a bit of attention. And I know she likes a good show. And that's why I thought I'd just have a go at triggering the apocalypse and putting on this big fucking show, make a song and dance about it. I haven't done any dancing, actually, and I need to do some singing, but that's what scares me the most. Maybe I'll do a bit of dancing. Just do everything that I can to try and get this girl, because I still really like her. I thought I was over her because I met this other person. I was like, oh, this person's really cute. But I realised that I think that was the devil. She wasn't the devil. She was lovely. Is lovely. But I think it was the devil kind of being like, just go for someone else now. Like, it's been ages. Just move on. And I was so close to it. I was like, oh, I think I'm over her. And then I thought about her again. I was like, nah, I really fancy her. I want to put on a show for her. And I want to set the whole world free. And I want to set her, or I want to help her to set herself free by just telling the truth. So that's where I'm at. That's my story. If I don't kind of speak like this in this make-believe, like, light-hearted way, if I really sit with it and feel it, I feel this crushing weight pushing down on me that's so heavy I can't speak, basically. All I want to do is cry, and I can barely make a sound. So I have to do it in this kind of, this really weird, like, light-hearted way, even though what I'm talking about is the fact that I'm just laced with pain. And I have been for 20 years, and I've been ignored by everyone. And I've had family members and friends just turn away from me because they've noticed that I've changed. And I have changed a bit in that I'm healing. And we're living in such an inverted form of reality that when people begin to heal, they they make other people uncomfortable. And when people begin to let go of their ego, they make other people feel really bad for the fact that they've still got a big fucking ego. And, yeah, so it has been really hard, actually. And, as you can imagine, really, it'd be difficult to be in this kind of situation and for it to not be challenging, at least a little bit. But hopefully it's nearly over. And hopefully you'll just all know the shit I've been through and why I've been through it and what I've got from it and how it can help you if you're brave enough to listen to my story. And I've tried really hard to make it nice for you. Like, I've tried to make it funny and pleasant and poetic. So that's that. I'll do some more. I don't know what I'll do. I did this video before of, what was it? Richard and Julie. Maybe they'll make an appearance again. Or maybe some other people. I don't know. We'll see. Alright. Bye.